Hi guys, Sonic Ripper here, and welcome back to the 17 Spooky Stories, counting down to Halloween. And today we are going to be reading Geronimo Stilton, the Peculiar Pumpkin Thief. So let's just hop right in. The greatest Halloween party ever. It was a cold, rainy October night on the streets of New Mouse City. The howling wind threatened to rip my favorite cheese-colored umbrella right out of my paws. Rat's whiskers! How I wish I were home, relaxing in my comfy cat fur slippers. Instead, I was heading downtown to... Whoops! I did it again. When will I ever remember to introduce myself? My name is Stilton, Geronimo Stilton. I am the publisher of the Rodents Gazette, the most famous newspaper on Mouse Island. Anyway, where was I? Oh yes, I was heading downtown to meet my favorite nephew, Benjamin. It was only a few days until Halloween, and I had promised him I would throw a Halloween party at my house. We would invite all of his friends. Ready to go shopping for the party? Ready to go shopping for the party? I asked the little mouse. Benjamin's smile made me forget all about the dreary weather. This is going to be the greatest Halloween party ever, he squeaked. You're the best, Uncle Geronimo. Did I mention I have the sweetest nephew on the planet? Yoo-hoo! I took Benjamin to Tricks for Tales, the most popular party store in New Mouse City. It has lots of decorations, weird gadgets, and party pranks. When we entered the store, we were greeted by the owner, Paws Prankster. One thing you should know about Paws, he loves to test out his pranks on unsuspecting customers. Of course, today was no exception. Like my ring? He giggled, waving his paw in my face. I took a closer look. A stream of water squirted me in the snout. Cheese niblets! Gotcha! Paws guffawed. Look at this, Uncle! Benjamin said, pointing to a humongous orange pumpkin. I have to admit, it was pretty impressive. But why had someone left a banana peel on top of the pumpkin? How strange. Benjamin found a rack with lots of scary costumes. He tried on a ghost, an alien, and a skeleton costume. They were all so spooky we couldn't decide. We decided to think it over and come back in a few days. We were about to leave when I felt someone or something tug on my tail. I turned around, but there was no one there. How odd. I took another step. Again I felt a tug on my tail. I whirled around fast, but still no one was there. How weird! A rubber bat dangled from the ceiling, stared at me with evil eyes. Yikes! I was beginning to get the creeps. At that moment, a giant pumpkin began to move. Yoo-hoo! A voice whispered. Suddenly, a furry gray snout popped out of the pumpkin. Like my little joke, Geronimo? Like my little joke, Stilton? The mouse giggled. I should have known. It was my friend, Hercule Poirot Rat. The famous detective. Hercule loves to play pranks, and he's always eating bananas. Stilton, I could really use your help solving a Halloween mystery, he began, but I cut him off. Hercule loved to get me to help with his crazy cases, but I wasn't about to get involved. I had a Halloween party to plan. Sorry, Hercule, no time, I said quickly. Then I took Benjamin by the paw and ran out of the door before Hercule could stop me. If you've seen these pumpkins. The next day I went back to Tricks for Tails. I was going to buy the giant jack-o'-lantern and a few other scary decorations to surprise Benjamin. But when I got there, there was nothing left. No tricks, no decorations, no costumes.
I was robbed!
Pa's prankster sobbed. They took everything. I looked around. This time Paws wasn't pulling my paw. The robbers had taken everything. Right then the phone rang. Paws blew his nose. Honk. Then answered the phone. He chatted for a minute before hanging up. Well, looks like I wasn't the only one, he said with a sad sigh. Rats Authority, Better, Cheddar, and Beyond, and Professor Precious First Priceless Antiques were robbed too. How strange. I thought I left Tricks for Tails and took the bus to the other side of town to do my shopping on the bus. Oh, I thought. I left Tricks for Tails and took the bus to the other side of town to do my shopping. On the bus, I sat next to a scowling mouse with a tuft of black fur on the top of his head and 3 silver rings in his snout. He was chattering into his cell phone. Can you believe it? I heard him squeak. Last night some rat robbed the prank factory. Now where am I supposed to get a scary costume for Squeaky's Halloween party? I was about to tell Snout Rings. He already looked pretty scary to me when we reached my stop. I jumped off the bus and headed for the farmer's market. I knew I could find a Halloween pumpkin there. But I was in for another surprise. All of the pumpkins had been stolen. Instead, I saw a TV crew interviewing a farmer. He was holding up pictures of his missing produce. If you've seen these pumpkins, he squeaked, please call the police. I started thinking. First Tricks for Tails, then Prank Factory, then all of the pumpkins in New Mouse City. It looked like someone was out to sabotage Halloween. But who? 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 Globby green slime. There was only one thing to do. I ran to the office of Hercule Poirot. As I said, Hercule is a great detective. Unfortunately, his office is less than great. In fact, it's a disaster. I knocked on the door to his flea-infested shack. Cheese nibblets! The place was a dump! I was about to pull out my paw sanitizer when I heard a clanging sound. I looked up and a bucket filled with worms and globby green slime poured down on me. Help! I squeaked. The door flew open and Hercule Poirot peeked out. Ha! Is that you, Stilton? How do you like my new anti-spy trap? He asked, grinning. I pulled the bucket off my head. Oh, how do I get myself into these messes? I'm Geronimo Stilton. I'm a good mouse. I wear a helmet when I ride my bike. I cross on the green, not in between. I never litter. Well, except for that one time the wind whipped a cheesy chew wrapper out of my paw when I was driving on the freeway. What brings you here, Geronimo? Hercule asked, interrupting my thoughts. I'm ready to help you solve this Halloween mystery, I declared. Hercule picked up his suitcase near the door. He told me he was off to check out some suspicious activity. I'll call you when I know more, he squeaked. Hercule, wait, I called, but he was already gone. Open! If you dare. The morning before Halloween, I woke up early. I had a lot to do to prepare. I had a lot to do to prepare for my Halloween party. I was sweeping my stoop when I noticed a bright orange-colored envelope in my mailbox. On it was written, "Open, if you dare." Inside was a sheet with a strange poem. "You're invited to my Halloween party. Please do your best not to be tardy. I've planned a great night full of games and prizes, and all the best music, rides, and surprises. Candy corn, caramel apples, and of course, lots of cheese. The food is all free. Eat as much as you please. You don't know my name, but we'll meet tomorrow night. Come to Mystery Park when the moon's shining bright." On the back of the invitation was a map on how to get to Mystery Park. It was all very strange. I mean, I'd never even heard of a place called Mystery Park. I decided to make some hot cheddar. Sometimes I think more clearly with a steamy mug of hot cheddar in my paws. I was still trying to make sense of the invitation when my doorbell rang. It was my cousin Trap, my sister Thea, and my nephew Benjamin. Each of them was waving an orange envelope.
Hey, Jerry Berry. I see you got the invite, too.
"Hey, Jerry Berry, I see you got the invite too," my cousin squeaked. "Fabaroni, we can all go together." I chewed my whiskers. "Not so fast, Trap," I warned. "How do we even know who sent this? I don't like accepting invitations from strangers." Trap coughed. "Oh, don't get your fur in a frenzy, Geronimoid. Everybody's going. Plus, someone stole all the Halloween stuff in town. How else are we going to celebrate?" my cousin demanded. Then he added, "And you don't even need a costume, Cousin Kins. You've already got a face like a zombie." I ignored him. "Why don't you all come to my house instead?" I asked. "We don't need decorations to have a fun Halloween." Trap smirked. Thea rolled her eyes, and Benjamin's shoulder slumped.
Are you sure you don't want to go to the party, Uncle Geronimo?
he asked. I gave in. How could I say no to my favorite nephew? "What is it?" That night I couldn't sleep. Just when I'd drift off, I'd be woken up by what sounded like revving up their cat engine. Like someone revving up their car engine. Right outside my window. How rude! The next morning I stumbled out of bed. I was determined to find that late-night noisemaker and give him a piece of my mind. But when I got outside, I couldn't believe my eyes. Smack in the middle of town, a gigantic tower seemed to have risen out of the ground. It was covered by an orange tarp. The crowd stood gaping at the tower with open snouts. "What is it?" asked the newsstand owner.
Who covered it up?
Grumbled the mail mouse.
Maybe it's for Halloween.
"Maybe it's for Halloween," said Boris von Cacklefur, the owner of Fabumouse Funerals. It looked like we had another mystery on our paws. A creepy kind of music. Halloween had finally arrived. What a strange day. All afternoon, a creepy, eerie kind of music could be heard throughout town. Come to Mystery Park as soon as it's dark. You'll shiver with fright and munch treats all night. So come if you dare, I'll meet you all there. As soon as the sun went down, my family showed up on my doorstep. Get your tail in gear, Germeister, my cousin announced. We're off to Mystery Park. Reluctantly, I followed them outside. I was still feeling nervous about the mysterious invitation. I couldn't put my paw on it, but something just didn't seem right. As we headed for the park, I noticed a ton of rodents all going in the same direction. It seemed like the entire city would be celebrating Halloween at Mystery Park.
This is going to be a fabu-mouse,
I heard Roman. I heard one rodent remark. I can't wait to try the cheese treats, another added.
and it's all free,
a third squeaked. Everyone was so excited, I tried to shake off my nerves. After all, it was a party. What was there to be nervous about? And why did I leave my door open? What was there to be nervous about? It was just a dark Halloween night, and I was going to a party thrown by someone I never met. I gulped. Excuse me. Oh, why was I such a scaredy mouse? I was just about to enter the park when my cell phone rang. I looked at the number. It was Hercule Poirot. There was a lot of static on the phone.
don't, oh, ark, de, rosh,
He squeaked. What did you say? I can't hear you, I shouted, but it was too late. The call had been disconnected. A minute later, I was pushed along by a crowd into Mystery Park. The heavy gates slammed shut behind me. Excuse me. It's just a party. I started to panic. Why was I feeling so trapped? Get a grip, Geronimo, I told myself. It's just a party, and what an amazing party it was! There was music and rides and food galore. Plus everyone entering the park was given a clown mask. Sort of like a door prize, I guess. Rodents dressed in clown costumes passed out all kinds of yummy treats. I tried to relax, but I still felt uneasy. Who would throw an extravagant Halloween party and invite the whole city of strangers? And what was up with the clown costumes? I was trying to figure it out when someone clapped me on the back. I nearly jumped out of my fur. Hey, Jumpy Jerry, what's the matter? My cousin Trap asked as he smirked. Then he waved a triple-decker cheese sandwich in my snout. Is this free food scaring you? Next to him, Benjamin was happily munching on cheddar popcorn.
taste some, Uncle Geronimo,
He offered. Thea sipped a mega-sized milkshake.
Loosen up, Jerrykins,
Tara said.
you look like you're going in
The dentist chair to have a root canal. I looked around and saw all my friends. Everyone was having such a wonderful time. Everyone, that is, except me. Why did I have such a bad feeling? I want my mommy! Suddenly, all the lights went out in the park. Holy cheese! What was happening? I heard a rustling sound nearby. In the darkness, I could make out a pack of rodents dressed in clown costumes. They scurried through the front gate, locking it behind them. Then a scary voice rang out. Welcome, strangers, to Mystery Park. I'm so glad that you fell for my trap in the dark. That's right! My assistants have locked all the gates. So forget about leaving, just sit down and wait. Yes, while you were laughing and talking and eating, I surrounded your houses with my own trick-or-treating. So sit tight, foolish mice. I'll be done soon enough. I'm the best of the best at stealing your stuff. I gulped. What a nightmare! All of the rodents around me began to scamper around. Some tugged at the iron gates, but they were impossible to open. They were all bolted with enormous locks. Others tried to climb the walls, but these were no ordinary walls. They were covered with creamy whipped chocolate. It was perfect for eating, but not so great for climbing. Mice were slipping and sliding all over the place. I want out of here! A rodent fued. I want my lawyer! Another squeaked.
I want my mommy!
I sobbed hysterically. I want my mommy! I sobbed hysterically. Oh, I knew I should have stayed in my cozy mouse hole. Do you know how to fly a helicopter? At that moment, I heard a thunderous roar of a helicopter. I looked up. A helicopter with a clown face was flying above us. In the light of the moon, I could just make out the pilot. He wore a trench coat and was waving a banana in the air. I cleaned my glasses, and then I looked again. Yes, it was Hercule Poirot. Who else would fly a helicopter and eat a banana at the same time?
Stilton, grab a hold of the hook,
he yelled. I looked around. Hook? What was Hercule talking about? A minute later, a huge steel hook dropped from the helicopter and bonked me in the head.
Ouch!
I squeezed my eyes tight, grabbed it, and hung on for dear life. I yelled down to Thea, Trap, and Benjamin, "Don't worry! I'll be back soon to get everyone out." With a jerk, I was reeled up into the plane. Hercule shoved a headset onto my head so we could communicate with each other over the roar of the engine. Soon we were flying over the park. The wind was like a cyclone, whipping my whiskers all over the place. I made a mental note to remember to book an appointment with Clip Rat, my barber. It would take weeks to untangle this fur. Just then, the helicopter took a nosedive, and I let out an ear-piercing squeak. Hercule, do you know how to fly a helicopter? I stammered. I stole a quick glance at my friend. He had a smile on his face.
Don't be silly, Stilton. I definitely flown a helicopter before. He grinned. Maybe not a real one, but I had loads of toy airplanes when I was young.
Moldy mozzarella! I was a passenger in a helicopter flown by a mouse whose only experience as a pilot was playing with tiny plastic planes. I began to feel faint. tiny dots swam in front of my eyes. Well, maybe that was because it was nighttime and we were hurling past lots of stars. But you get the point! I was a bundle of nerves! We've got to rescue our friends! I shrieked at Hercule, but he shook his head.
First we need to find Chuckles, he said. Chuckles? Who was my friend talking about? Maybe the altitude was affecting his brain cells. I was about to suggest we head for the nearest hospital when Hercule began to explain. It seemed a thief who called himself Chuckles had decided to rip off New Mouse City. First he stole all the Halloween supplies in town, then he built Mystery Park and invited everyone to a party. After everyone had gathered, he locked the gates and began looting all of the houses. Excuse me. He's got an army of mice helping him, and they're all dressed like clowns. Hercule finished. I was stunned. So that was what my friend had called to warn me about. Too bad I hadn't been able to hear him. Oh, and one more thing, Hercule added. This helicopter, it's Chuckles' private helicopter. Can you imagine how mad he's going to be when he finds out I stole it? At that moment I heard a sound more horrifying than a hissing cat, more petrifying than paw nails on a chalkboard. It was the roar of helicopters, smaller clown helicopters, and they were headed right for us. I really deserve a little snack. We're being followed! I shrieked in a panic as the clown copters grew closer, but Hercule just laughed. That mouse loves a challenge. With a gleeful squeak, he yanked on the control stick and began doing somersaults in midair. A wave of nausea hit me. I grabbed an airsit bag. Weak stomach, Geronimo? Hercule smirked. I couldn't answer. I was turning as green as a stalk of celery. Dude, I mentioned that I get airsick and carsick and seasick. Up and down and around, up and down and around. Oh, and also I get sick when I watch my clothes tumbling around in the dryer at the squeaky clean dryer mat. But that's another story. Even though my stomach was hurting, I still noticed the strange activity going on in the streets far below. Clowns were everywhere. They were ransacking the city, houses, stores, banks. The clowns were stealing everything. Luckily, Hercule was able to lose the clown copters that were chasing us. Another job well done, he congratulated himself. He pulled a banana out of his pocket. I really deserve a little snack, he announced as he shoved the fruit into his mouth and flipped the peel over his shoulder. But the peel got stuck under the control panel. Oops, Hercule muttered. 2 minutes later, the helicopter began sputtering in the air. I looked out the window, and I saw the sea under us. The waves were getting nearer and nearer and nearer. Before I could scream, we hit the water. The helicopter began to sink. Glop, 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 glop. We're doomed! I watched in horror as the helicopter began to fill up with water. Hercule was passed out on my side. We were doomed. I saw my life flash before my eyes. My first step, my first squeak, my first chocolate cheesy chew. Yum, I love cheesy chews. I promised myself if I made it out of this alive, I'd treat myself to a whole box. Or maybe 2.
But there was no time to think about Cheesy Chews now. I had to think fast.